we had Donald Trump basically oversee, and Bill Barr oversee these really violent attacks on protesters in Washington, D.C. And, we're starting to see more sort of reporting to the fact that, Trump is acting in a very authoritarian way. We know that that audio from his call with the governors, where he's basically encouraging them to function like authoritarian, despots, if you will. And there's a certain amount of authoritarian cosplay that is going on here. And, we can quibble. And I think this is what we're going to play this clip, and it's going to provide us a quibble. It's clip number 13 as to how much of this is an authoritarian impulse and how much of this is authoritarian cosplay to cover up from deep, deep insecurities, personal insecurities of coming off as a bit of a wimp. It's a bit of a cuck because
he's a mega
Donald Trump,
cuck.
when there was, peaceful protests, when there were peaceful protests outside the White House, which have happened, hundreds of times in our history.
Actually, Sam, speaking of another contrast, and whatever, Nixon's a war criminal and sociopath, but Nixon did go and literally in the middle of the night with a small security detail to speak to protesters.
Yeah.
Basically be like, what can we do here? Why don't you like me?
Well, he talked about football. It was very confusing to the protesters.
It was bullshit, but I'm just saying, the contrast is monumental
for his own physical safety.
That's what I'm saying.
So much so that he goes down into the bunker for 2 days and hides out there. And the problem is, this leaks that Trump did this. They're not announcing it.
That he's a cuck.
And then he feels emasculated. Now, you can't go out and buy a Corvette, which is a big, red Corvette or something, or an IROC Z to make yourself feel better.
He's not from
Donald Trump, right? But so what do? Well, you go out, you have the cops launch, tear gas into peaceful protests, and then you follow it up, in a day later on with your buddy Brian Kilmeade and say dude, I wasn't in the bunker because I was afraid. I was checking it out to make sure that, I was checking it out to make sure that it was safe for the women to go down there.
I was like, before we put the women and children in the bunker, I got to make sure it is secure from Antifa operatives.
Exactly.
But I mean, if it was up to me, I would literally be out
Play
there.
Play the clip.
During the day, and I was there for a tiny, little short period of time, and it was much more for an inspection. There was no problem during the day. And I've gone down 2 or 3 times, all for inspection. And you go there, someday you may need it.
Yeah,
but you go there, and I went down, I looked at it. It was during the day. It was not a problem.
Sometimes the Secret Service even tells the president, I can't do this. So you tell me, Mr. President, they didn't say to you, you have to go downstairs. My responsibility is your welfare. They didn't limit you at all in the House?
Nope, they didn't tell me that at all. But they said it would be a good time to go down, take a look, because maybe sometime you're going to need it. And I've been down... let's see, that would be number 2.5, sort of, because I've done different things, but 2.5. But I looked, I was down for a very, very short period of time. Very, very short period of time.
He's telling us that he inspects the bunker to make sure that it's okay, that it's all set. And he's done it 2 or 3 times as if I went down there one time, but they wanted me to inspect it again to see if my tastes have changed for what I might want in the bunker. And this is a good time for me. So I was just down there. I was checking it out because I was afraid for the ladies.
Yeah.
That the ladies might not like it. And I wanted, because here's the thing. They were going to send Secret Service down there and some special ops just to make sure that it was clear. And I was like, no, I'm not letting you do that. I would never send a man to do that work unless I'm willing to do it myself. So give me whatever you have for a weapon. I just need something sharp. I can with a pen, I can kill a man. And I'll just go down there and I will suss out. I will go in. Everybody stay back.
Like Jason Bourne.
Bunker. I'm going to go into the bunker and make sure that there's nothing going on in there. I've got my cell phone flashlight, and I'll just turn that on, and I'm just going to go in. And all right, it's safe. It's safe. Okay, it's safe. Okay, so all clear. Let's just call this a half visit.
Yeah.
Right? It's a half visit. Visit.
I want to remake Air Force One, except it's Trump, and he gets immediately onto the escape pod, and the rest of the movie is just him being like, "You need to tell them I'm still on the plane and killing them to save my wife." They're like, "Mr. President, we need to negotiate and see what their demands are so we can free the hostages. You need to tell them I'm still on the plane killing everybody."
Yeah, that halftime I inspected, I didn't really look at the structural integrity. So I'm going to go down there again. Check out.
One of the questions I had was, what are they using for the filtration methodology? Because I've been doing some reading on the latest gases. Now, of course, I'm immune to all of it, but I'm worried about the ladies. So I had to go down there to check because we needed some particles, radioactive particles. I wanted to make sure those weren't. So I had to check the ventilation system and also do some wiring work. And also I'm doing some woodwork. I like to do a little woodwork down there. I want to make sure that I'm able to do some carvings in the event there's a nuclear attack or there's a couple of protesters who are throwing.
Oh, I gotta go inspect it.
Who have mean signs, and I want to make sure that I don't see those. So.
Mr. President, we have the president on the phone. He got out of the plane. We're in the situation room. Mr. President, what's the direction? Okay, so everybody needs to know that I'm on the plane. I have just killed 3 Chechen separatists. Mr. President, they're threatening to kill your wife and all the hostages. Actually, as far as you know, I've already rescued Melania. She is giving me oral sex right now while I single-handedly kill them. And that's what gets to the press.
That's the only thing that happens.
I think that kill me gives him an out, too.
Actually, like he couldn't, like he was like testing out what are the things I could say to kill me. Just an inspection. Yeah. I was going to go down there to see because I've gained 45 pounds, and I want to.
I like to walk the stairs.
The toilet because it's a small little unit.
Oh my god! And again, to just keep making that political point.
What a small like. Here's the thing. This is what's sort of terrifying. Is that like you wonder if because. How deeply can we do these sort of like intellectual histories of monsters, like, authoritarian monsters? But you wonder if it's just like he's just so desperately lacking self-esteem and self-confidence. And his ego is so fragile that he's like, we got to drop a bomb on the protesters because people found out that I wear a girdle. And it's just what we need to do.
It's just what needs to happen.
And at one point, it's just like, you know what? It worked. Like he falls into, you just don't know because he's clearly too afraid to be an authoritarian on some level. But there are people clearly around him who are like, see some benefit to it. And I mean, the guy's calling up and calling Kilmeade and just like, how demented do you have to be to put that out there to cover for the fact that you went down into this bunker? And it is, it's just absolutely freaking nuts. All the work that they're doing just because he was reported he was in a bunker, and he's projecting on people are going to see me as weak.
Yeah, what you want during moments like these, is your president doing unnecessary bunker inspections.
What you want is a combination of impotent, dangerous rage and absolutely embarrassing hysteria. And that's how you steer the ship. And in terms of just how this plays out politically too, of course, I see Biden go to the Wilmington protests, and it's like, are you fucking kidding me? You wrote the crime to all, of course. But again, from how this is reading to a lot of voters that might be up for grabs, You're reading it as this guy is instigating, bullying, actually doing authoritarian moves, and also being a wimp and a punk.
No.
And Joe Biden's doing. Look,
I'm
at Wilmington.
I'm inspecting. It's one of the things I've got to do. I've got to make sure things are working.
And all that schmaltzy Joe Biden stuff, like he's at the protest, he's on he's listening, he's on his knee. One of the guys comes.
He's going to Floyd's funeral.
Right, absolutely. But even this was a couple of days ago, and again, and people are coming up to him. They're doing the elbow bump, and one guy said, like, hey man, you got to get rid of this crazy guy, and and Biden's like, oh Lord, don't I know it? And again, I'm looking, of course, I look at it with all of the disgust and all of the criticism and everything, but just objectively, analytically, how this plays out, this is benefiting Joe Biden. Like,
without doubt.
It's so there. And
but with that said, I think that's the case. But with that said, it is, I want to get into the failure of Nancy Pelosi, because